Source B by Rick Kahn. Penny Pinchers. The following is excerpted from an article published in the online edition of a newspaper. Pity the poor penny. Once it had swagger. With a pedigree dating back to 1787, it was feted as the first currency authorized by the United States. As a money symbol, it was deemed as rock solid as the presidential jaw of Abraham Lincoln, which first appeared on it in 1909. Boston's own Paul Revere, resident silversmith, supplied some of the copper for those bygone pennies. Now, everywhere you turn around town, the zinc and copper 1-cent piece is taking it on the chin, shoved out of the economic picture by charge cards, flung into the trash by people who think it's mucky and worthless, hijacked by cashiers who assume you're among the 27% of Americans who don't even keep track of their loose change, according to a May 2005 survey conducted by Coinstar, providers of the self-service machines that help convert coins into paper money. On the internet, you were introduced to a group called Citizens for Retiring the Penny, which advocates rounding off prices to the nearest nickel, as have some members of Congress. The group was founded by a 1999 MIT graduate named Jeff Gore. The point of currency is to facilitate transactions, Gore, 27, told you by phone. People fishing in their pockets. The cashier has to open a new bag of pennies. For me, it's a waste of time I object to. Gore is a busy guy. As a graduate student in physics at the University of California at Berkeley, he has tackled topics such as single-molecule investigations of the mechachochemical cycle of DNA gyres. However, Gore did find time to come up with this calculation, posed on the group's website. The National Association of Convenience Stores and Walgreens drugstore chain estimated that handling pennies adds 2 to 2.5 seconds to each cash transactions. Remember that we are including the occasional customer who spends 30 seconds looking for the penny in his pocket. Let us estimate that each person goes through 3 of these transactions per day, and that on average there is 1 person waiting in line, making for a total of 3 people's times wasted in each transaction. We can then calculate that the presence of pennies wastes 3 transactions per day times 2.25 seconds per transaction times 3 people per transactions equals 20 seconds per day. Probably only about half of the wasted time is directly connected with a cash transaction, giving a total of 40 wasted seconds per day per person. This may not seem like a lot, but it translates to 40 times 365 divided by 3,600 equals 4 hours per person per year. If each person's time is worth $15 an hour, then we arrive at the conclusion that each person is losing $60 per year, at a cost to the nation of over $15 billion per year. On the other side of the coin, Edmund Knowles figures he has saved an average of about 90 pennies a day for the last 38 years, on his counter, in jugs, and finally in 55-gallon drums in his garage. In June, an armored car picked up his 4.5 tons of spare change and had it recycled through Coinstar. That would be 1,308,459 pennies, or $13,084.59.